The crowded dining hall lights glittered like distant stars on that chilly Thanksgiving afternoon, but one man sat apart, a lone island in a sea of holiday cheer. Arthur Sinclair, 78 years old, hunched low in his seat at the community center, staring at an empty plate. He had arrived hopeful, as he'd done each year since losing his wife and only son. But each year, too, he had found only polite smiles and quiet avoidance. Today, he was rejected again. His hands trembled on the tablecloth. The laughter of families drifted past him in teasing colors he could no longer reach. The volunteers had placed him here, at the end of a long row, but no one sat with him. No one invited him to share their stories, their casseroles, their warmth. And in that moment, Arthur felt a cold far deeper than any winter wind. But as the final call for grace echoed through the hall, and Arthur bowed his head to the empty plate, something unexpected happened. A chair scraped behind him. The stranger who sat down wore a simple denim jacket and carried a homemade pie wrapped carefully in a red and white towel. She didn't say a word at first, she simply looked at Arthur and offered a smile soft enough to melt frost. He blinked. "May I?" he asked, voice thick. The stranger nodded and placed her pie beside Arthur's plate, right next to his hands. It was a pecan pie, still warm, with a deep, caramel aroma that recalled brighter Thanksgivings from decades past. "Titles on me," she said quietly, gesturing to the slice she cut with a small plastic knife. "Made it this morning. My name's Lily." Arthur swallowed. He hadn't introduced himself to anyone here, the simple exchange overwhelmed him. He cleared his throat. "Arthur." And just like that, a bridge of humanity formed, without fanfare, across the space they'd both carried for so long. The center's doors opened, and a gust of wind sent confetti of golden autumn leaves tumbling in. Some stuck to the window panes, others swirling in the foyer. The mood in the room shifted, a hush, a moment's universal pause, then renewed laughter. Arthur and Lily fell into conversation as the center distributed hot turkey, gravy, mashed potatoes, everything the heart, or stomach, could desire. Lily listened as Arthur talked of Sarah, his late wife, and Jacob, his son. His voice cracked when he spoke of Jacob's last Thanksgiving before he left for college, and how he never came home again. Lily nodded, sorrow in her eyes. "I lost my mother 3 years ago," she said softly. Thanksgiving never feels the same without her laughter. Neither of them realized the room was quieting around them. It was as though the world had hushed to listen. A volunteer shyly came by with seconds of turkey. "For the gentleman and his friend," she announced. Arthur felt warmth rise in his chest, first, from the food, but more so for the simple recognition. The unexpected twist came when Lily's phone buzzed. She frowned, picked it up. She had planned to stop in for a quick meal before visiting her mother's grave, but now she might be late. Arthur shrugged and smiled. "Go ahead," he said. Lily shook her head. "No. I stayed, that's engagement," she replied. Just then, a young mother across the room spotted Arthur. She recognized him faintly. 10 years ago, Arthur had been the high school football coach, beloved by many. After his wife and son were gone, he vanished into anonymity. The memory flickered in her mind. She saw him now, this fragile old man with tears in his eyes, and she realized he used to be strong. She stood, carrying her little daughter, and made her way to Arthur and Lily's table. "Coach Sinclair," she said, voice thick. "Is that you?" Arthur looked up, stunned. He hadn't realized who he'd become to so many. She nodded, tearful. My daughter, your coaching changed her life." She introduced him to Emma, her daughter, and explained how Arthur's kindness and encouragement had helped Emma find confidence and purpose. For the first time that day, Arthur felt the weight of years lift. He had mattered. His life had mattered to others. Word of Coach Sinclair's presence spread. More former students, many with families of their own, came forward. They sang songs he taught, laughed over old pranks, and shared stories of how his belief in them had changed their paths. Lily watched, a gentle pride in her eyes. Arthur's plate overflowed, not just with food, but with connection, love, hope. The room hummed around him. Volunteers rushed to bring more chairs. A melody began from the small corner stage as someone started to sing, "Lean on Me." Arthur rose, unsteadily, and extended his hand to Lily. "Thank you," he said, voice trembling on the brink of tears. "I didn't expect any of this." He turned to the crowd. "I expected to be alone today." A silence fell. Then Lily stepped forward. "You were never alone, not today, not ever." Her words echoed. Then the hall erupted, a wave of applause that sounded like healing. At that high point, something magical happened. A banker who'd once faced Arthur's encouragement when he was down on his luck handed him an envelope. It had public transportation tokens for the month and a note, "Coach, you gave me hope. Now let me give it back." Another former student handed Arthur a handmade Thanksgiving card, "Because you taught me to speak, to believe, to act." A volunteer knelt and hugged him, saying, "Your family, Coach." Arthur looked at Lily. "You," he tried to speak, but his voice caught. She smiled, held his hand. "We," she corrected softly. "All of us." He closed his eyes, overwhelmed. Tears slipped down his cheeks. For the first time in years, he felt the world had room for him. He felt home. As the hall emptied, Lily and Arthur sat together at his table, sharing that warm pecan pie. They exchanged addresses and phone numbers. Lily vowed to bring Thanksgiving pie every year. Arthur insisted he'd bake next year's apple pie. He looked around the now empty center. Sunlight fell on the empty chairs, on the remnants of laughter. It struck him, kindness, once given, never truly leaves. He turned to Lily, and said, "Thank you, for reminding me that we're never alone." Lily smiled, squeezing his hand. "And thank you for reminding me," she nodded to the hall and its renewed spirit, "that hope is a thing we plant, and it blooms in ways we can't always see." Arthur walked home that evening with Lily's pie box in hand, head held high, heart full. He felt more thankful, more alive, more connected, than he had in a long, long time. And as he settled in, he began drafting a list: Thanksgiving pie, community lunches, invitations to old students, and of course, gratitude for the stranger who sat beside him and turned Thanksgiving into a second chance. Sometimes, we think our connections are gone for good. We believe our impact is past. But in every moment, especially the painful ones, there lies the possibility of magic. One kind gesture. One seat at a table. One stranger. Let us be like Lily. Let us be like those students. Let us open a chair for someone we don't yet know. Because in doing so, we may gift them, and ourselves, a story of redemption, belonging, and love. And in that universal moment, we remember the simple truth: humanity thrives when we choose kindness.